Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. Welcome to Harvest Your Own. Today I've got an old friend for the podcast. We've known each other for, I think, decades. But Tim McKinnon is here, and I think outside of the business world, Tim is probably known for being president of Safari Club International Northern Alberta chapter. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to have you in because I've been a member of SCI for a long time, and you know, I go to the dinner every year and I see the different things at sportsman shows and special events, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what SCI is.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's a stigma around what Safari Club is and what they stand for. And really it's about, I mean, our motto is first for hunters, but really it's about conservation, education, and getting more of the youth into hunting. And our mission statement in Alberta is really about getting kids into hunting, you know, women into hunting, and just exploring more opportunities for the resident hunters.
Yeah, there's not a lot of groups doing that. There's a lot of them setting up the education programs and special programs, but there's not a lot of people helping to enable people to take advantage of these things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of people talk about conservation, but when you understand what conservation really is about, and you need funding behind it. These studies that we support and fund for local research projects, you know, through the University of Alberta, to name a couple, is really about, you know, understanding the biology behind it and making sure that we're making good choices for the harvest. And that means for, you know, the resident hunter getting out there, you know, conserving the wildlife, the birds, the fish, the animals on the terrain, and making sure that they're there for our children, our great-grandchildren to hunt.
Right.
Sometime.
All the right reasons.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting. Safari Club isn't an elitist group. And Tim McKinnon, what's your background? Are you a hunter? Do you come from a strong hunting heritage?
Yeah, so I was born into hunting. My dad was a hunter. My uncles were all hunters, and my grandfather. But really, my uncle Wally, which is he was heavy into hunting. He used to come over to the kitchen table. My mom would serve dessert, and he would get me to work the action on a bolt, and he'd make me put the gun up to my shoulder. He taught me how to make sure I handled guns properly, and he was really instrumental in getting me into hunting, and probably the biggest person that contributed to where I am today in hunting. And my dad still hunts with me. He's 78 years old. He harvested a nice whitetail this fall, and he, you know, still comes out. He's not as mobile as he once was, but he's still adamant about getting out in the woods and spending time. You know, and now I have grandchildren, and you know, it's good to see 3 generations out there at bear camp, sitting around the fire together and just enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to realize who are the members or the president of Safari Club Northern Alberta chapter, because you're a passionate hunter. It comes from a long line of hunters. You probably live on wild game like a lot of us. You know, you don't buy a lot of domestic meat, although, you know, we have nothing against the ranchers and farmers. Thank God we have them because they maintain a lot of habitat base in the province. But we're very fortunate to have that wild proteins in our diet, and it's because of what's been passed down from generation to generation, and the social aspects of it. You know, the camaraderie, the family, the getting together with people you really enjoy being with.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You know, everybody that comes to my house, I don't push wild game on them at all. You know, they come over for dinners or Christmas time, and my wife will always identify if I've got, you know, beef jerky out, or elk jerky, I should say, out on the table, or if I've got deer pepperoni or moose sausage. You know, it's always identified. and I welcome people to try it, if they don't, they don't like it. But I do, my dad has always brought me up to make sure that, you properly harvest the animal and you properly process the animal so that, you can eat it, and make sure that it tastes good. And I think that's really critical. And especially if you're introducing it to people that don't regularly eat wild game, they have this perception that a certain type of taste. And Brad, you're the best for teaching people how to cook and enjoy wild game. But I certainly enjoy mine, and I love filling the freezer, and especially with today with the cost of protein out there, it sure helps. But what I really see now is the young generation. My daughter now has got 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way, and she's really promoted hunting with my granddaughters and my grandson, and those children are eating the wild game. They enjoy the jerky and the sausage and the hamburger, and they're healthier for it. But I do find that generation, the next generation, is really more about organic. My son-in-law won't even serve my grandkids like anything is not organic vegetables, and they grow their own. And so I think this next generation is really cautious or aware of where their proteins and their food are coming from.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more of that organic uprising where people want to harvest their own, and take advantage of that. But, it sounds like there's a lot of respect in there too. We respect the wildlife, where the food comes from, full utilization, passing that on to future generations who are taking it to the next stage. And the reason I bring all of this up is that kind of defines a member of Safari Club International.
Absolutely.
And that's a big misnomer. I think there's a lot of misconceptions sometimes in a name. And you hear Safari Club International, and I think a lot of people think, oh, they're a bunch of elephant hunters.
Yeah, I would say that's anything but. I got involved with Safari Club International about 26 years ago. I remember how the chapter started. It was in a church basement in St. Albert where a bunch of local resident hunters were invited to come out and to see if we wanted to start a chapter. Back then, Calgary had a chapter, and Archie Nesbitt was leading it. Archie helped us, start a chapter here in Northern Alberta. But I remember it started there, and it's just a bunch of, resident hunters that wanted to start. And why I wanted to get involved was, Safari Club International is one of the largest hunting, conservation, education organizations in the world. And what they do for the world of hunting is misunderstood. I mean, this elitist that you got to be wealthy and willing to go on African safaris around the world is a misconception. We have close to 500 people at our banquet, and they're anything but. There's certainly people that do enjoy going on safaris and different trips around the world and fishing, and but there's a lot of just resident guys that enjoy, contributing because we do have a voice. We participate in a lot of, sit on advisory panels for the Alberta government, and we have a voice, and they understand that this voice here in Alberta needs to be heard, and it needs to be heard internationally, because what the challenges we face across the world, to protect our right to go out and hunt and enjoy and fish and enjoy the woods, is being, challenged by large organizations that are well funded that want to take this right away from us. And if we want it to be there for our children, we want it to be there for our grandchildren, we need to make sure we get involved and that we have a voice at the table.
Yeah, the world is run by those that show up.
True.
Right? And that's a statement that rings true for the hunting community. So, what is the mission of Safari Club?
So, I mean, the mission of SCI is, first for hunters, but really what that speaks to is they want to represent the hunter and the rights, and they fight against, the closure of seasons, and they want to create every opportunity for the hunters to get out in the field and enjoy the woods. But here in Alberta, I mean, our Northern Alberta chapter, our mission statement is really about, when we do our hunting heritage grants, it's really focused around funding projects, scientific-based projects that are going to help enable us to increase the harvest in Alberta, or opportunity, I should say, in Alberta for the resident hunter. But more importantly, we fund a lot of projects around, youth and education. Really, getting the youth involved, supporting women's programs and getting getting the kids out in the woods and making sure that we're helping them, enjoy what we've learned to enjoy over the years, a lot of years, and, pass that tradition on to the next generation.
Yeah, well, Safari Club Northern Alberta chapter, there's 3 chapters in Alberta, Drayton Valley, Calgary, and Northern Alberta.
Yeah, currently there, yes.
So, I mean, Northern Alberta chapter's been around for a quarter of a century.
Correct.
What people might have seen is that there's an annual banquet here, but if you go to the sportsman shows, you're going to see a booth there. There's special horn scoring events. There's a number of fundraisers and social events that the club puts on.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if you get involved with the chapter, our biggest one is our banquet dinner is really, that's the fundraising dinner, where we raise the funds that help support. But we do, at the Boat and Sportsman Show, we call it a mini sensory safari. So our sensory safari is about letting, the children come in to the booth and touch and feel hides and horns. And it's a mini version of what we would do for our other sensory safari. The other sensory safari is a private setting. That sensory safari, we've been working with CNIB and Alberta Museum to host it. That's for, visually impaired people to come in, both children and adults. That's been put on hold with the transfer to the new location, but for about 15 of the 25 years we've held those, and that's been a great partnership that we're sparking back up and want to get going again.
Yeah, so that's with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and correct. I've covered that in some of the news articles I've written, and it was astonishing to see the face of the kids and stuff that have never seen things but explore them with their hands, whether it's deer antlers or a lion and its mane, and being able to describe it to them and have them feel it. The expressions on their face are just unbelievable. Yeah,
and we also do live insects in museums. Fabulous. They'll bring out live insects for the kids to touch, and snakes, and then, so we've hosted that for many years, and it's very good. It's very interesting. So, hunters are very protective of their harvest and their animals when they mount it, and they don't want them to get touched. But I would tell you, there's probably not one member that wouldn't allow the CNA, these visually impaired children and people to come out and touch them, because they touch them, as you said, with their fingertips, and they literally barely touch a hair on them, and it's just, and the look on their face when they do it is something special. No problem getting volunteers for that day, I can tell you.
Yeah, and you do the same at the sportsman shows. The Edmonton Boat and Sportsman Show, the Northern Alberta chapter has been there for years. And it's the only booth that doesn't have a sign, "Do not touch the taxidermy."
Correct. We welcome the children to come in and touch and feel. We try to support them so they don't fall off when they're getting on them. And, we've done other things with we've done some face painting and balloons, just to promote the kids to come in and touch. We, take them through, and we got name tags, and it's kind of a guessing session on what kind of hide they're touching and animals, so they kind of get their kicks out of touching different species, and we really enjoy it, and it just gets the name out. And there's no other reason to be there than let the membership and all the resident Albertans know that we're there to support. And also at the Sportsman's Show, right next to us now is a booth called NASP, and it's we've funded a project for archery for children. It's like a skeet thrower, if you will. It throws discs in air with, and then the children shoot at them with their archery equipment. And I would tell you, they're very accurate. Unlike me, I think I went 0 for 20 last year. But they use it as a mini fundraiser, and it's right next to our booth. And it's great to see the kids come out and shoot at those targets.
Yeah, education and experience. That's what it's starting to sound like.
This podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
I'm going to sort of take a turn here. The fundraisers that the club participates in have been extremely successful. You guys raise a significant amount of dollars every year.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We're very fortunate that we have, such good donors. They've been consistent. And I would say more than the donors, it's the members that come there and purchase them. And they're very giving people. They show up and they know that it's a fundraising dinner, and they make sure that they support the chapter. And, we invite some of the Hunting Heritage Grant recipients to get up and speak and show a quick 2-minute presentation on, where the dollars go. And because that really supports the membership and says, here's where your money goes. Our Hunting Heritage Grants, like I said, the live auction, we get 20 items and we are, $150,000+ raised, typically around that number, depending on which types of trips and such. But there's trips for everybody. You don't have to even be a hunter. You can be a fisherman. You can just be a regular person. There's, we have trips to Italy. We've got
shopping trips to New York.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, there's all kinds of different things on the docket.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that's which is kind of what we want. It's not all the merchandise and the silent and bucket raffles as such is not just about hunting. I would tell you it's almost a split of 50-50 male and female, and they come out and there's lots and lots of merchandise for females. There's TVs and you name it that get donated that, people can come and enjoy their evening, and they don't even have to be a hunter, but they can spend the evening and enjoy it.
Right. And the reason I bring up the dinner and how successful it is, the organization is 100% volunteer. You've been the president for a long time, and there's people on the executive. The members step up and come out to different events, all volunteers. All of that money gets spent on programs, and a lot of that is education. Let's start with the Hunter Heritage Grants.
Yeah, so the Hunting Heritage Grants was established in about the second to third year of our existence here in Alberta. A gentleman, Elton Zeus, with Sven-Erik Janssen, we created a mission statement. We created a hunting heritage and guidelines, a scorecard, if you will, and we welcome our members to sit on the panel. So every year we take submissions for grants into our hunting heritage, and those grants are submitted. And then what we do is the people that volunteer to sit on that panel score the applications. And the scorecard is really basically to understand how that ties to our mission statement about, getting youth out and getting, more females into hunting and local resident programs and, biology and programs in Alberta. And so they score these, and then they make a recommendation to the board once the funds are granted, and then they release the funds to the programs. And as I said, with COVID, we've been around just over 25 years. I've been chapter president for about 23 of those 25 years. I've been trying to get out of it. I did for a little bit there and got dragged back in. But anyway, I love being a part of it. And over those years, what I can say is on average between $40,000, $45,000, even upwards of $65,000 a year gets allocated to the Hunting Heritage Grants specifically. And if you take that over 25 or 23 years, you're looking at around $800,000+ in local Alberta resident programs. So you're talking about funding, working with the University of Alberta on some of their studies, and it could be the NAS programs with the children. We do stuff for the youth in their camps. So, that's where it goes.
Yeah. And I think that there's, it goes even beyond that. You have outreach for your members and the general public of Alberta. So we say membership has its benefits. Yep. Anyone that's a member of SCI Northern Alberta chapter, if you have kids or family members that want to take hunter education or go to one of the camps, the club picks up the tab.
Correct. We really want to promote, new Canadians. We want to promote the youth of the world, to get them out. And if they're willing to go into these programs to, properly become a resident hunter, we'll fund them. So with the youth in specific, we've been working close with the, AHIA and the Wildlife Federation today, formerly Alberta Fish and Game, but, at the Alfred Lake and Narrow Lake. So if the children register, it could be a grandchild, it could be a brother, sister, and the children, they would submit their receipts, and the club would fund it 100% for that children to go to camp.
And I think that's a wonderful thing to promote, and it's a huge benefit for the members. It's a huge benefit for the hunting community, knowing that people are brought up with the right education, getting a maximized opportunity to learn before they actually get in the field. But you go beyond that. If there's somebody in Alberta, if there's a family out there that just can't make ends meet and they're struggling, and they've, whether it's one of the parents or the kids that want to take a course, take hunter education, they can actually apply for a grant, and SCI will cover their costs as well.
Absolutely. So it's funny you say that. The Boat and Sportsman Show, we come across a lot of people that, these camps aren't cheap. They're very, very well run. I mean, the kids enjoy their week in camp, the canoeing, the archery, the, fishing, etc., and what they learn. Both my kids went through it and loved every minute of it. But it is expensive. It's upward of $600 to $800, and it's not cheap. And, times are tough out there now. And so we're very fortunate as a chapter to be able to help those people in need and support them by covering some of this cost covering the cost to get these children involved. And that's really our future here in hunting, but also in the country. It makes them a better person. I also say the camp isn't about taking these children and promoting, them into hunting and fishing and that lifestyle. It's really about, making them understand what's available to them and just making sure they understand conservation and the education piece of it. Because I think there's a lot of misconception about, what hunting plays and fishing play as a part of our conservation in the world, really.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've gone up and covered the youth camps before, and last year I put on a session for the Becoming an Out There Women's program at Alfred Lake, and it's just astonishing to see what people get out of it. Like, they go there with expectations and come out basically blown away with the delivery of the programs. You talk about the cost of the programs. Those programs don't make money either. No. They cost money to put on because you got people there, you got facilities, you've got equipment, all that stuff. It does add up. But we're very fortunate in Alberta to have a host of different programs, whether you're a youth, an adult, a woman, like you said, a new Canadian, anyone that's interested in these programs at all, have that inkling to try hunting, know more about it, firearms, archery, fishing, it's a complete package. They call it conservation education because,
correct,
it covers everything from wildlife identification to how to use a firearm to everything. Right.
I would say, Brad, I think this community, this hunting community and outdoor community that we are a part of and enjoy every single day, the mentoring. I mean, I host a bear camp every year. I don't really particularly desire to shoot another bear probably in the rest of my life, but I do go out every spring and set up my bait sites just so that I can take, new first-time hunters out. Every year I take out children with disabilities. Every year I take out, for new Canadians that just to get them in there into the field and let them, understand what it's all about. But I think that's when you talk about these people that go through the program. There's many people like me that are more than willing to take a first-time hunter out. And if people want to get involved, it's clubs like Safari Club Northern Alberta chapter, meeting the members, because those people you can get involved with, and they'll gladly take you out and start to introduce you into the sport.
That's the benefit of having these types of clubs anywhere,
right?
Is that the camaraderie, the social network. We see it, there's other clubs too, like the Edmonton Old Timers Fishing Club. They get together because they didn't have anyone to go fishing with. And it gives them a great opportunity to meet like-minded people,
right,
that might be able to hit the field, share equipment, share knowledge, share recipes, whatever it is to enjoy the outing. So, a good reason to join Safari Club International Northern Alberta chapter, or any of the chapters in Alberta,
right,
is to meet other people in your community that have similar interests.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree totally. That's one of the benefits. I mean, we recently held our horn scoring event, and just the camaraderie, people going there, talking telling stories, talking about their next trips and what they're planning for the upcoming year, and getting out, and they're talking about going out ice fishing. And, it's great to hear. And, the one thing I really enjoyed is that everybody's welcome. And, all the kids come out. There's lots of kids there. You held one of the seminars, which was fabulous, but, we did a trapping seminar. We also did, one on CWD and the effects, how that's affecting our landscape here in Alberta. But really what it was is about educating people and getting people together and really, talking and enjoying each other's company. Right?
Yeah, that social aspect is important.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information to gain insight and knowledge. Head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
Let's go dive a little bit deeper. The
Sure.
hunter heritage stuff is wonderful. I think that we've shared a great message in terms of enabling people that can't afford to do this, but would like to. It gives them an opportunity. I hope some of them will go to the website, look it up, get in touch with you. But Safari Club International puts their money where their mouth is. In terms of funding conservation and science-based studies, over the 25 years, this club has, put money into elk and black bears and even species on the coast and stone sheep and all over the place. The money doesn't stay in the bank account. It's no good to you there.
No, we invested. As I said, we disperse the funds every year, and we've done, elk harvest, large carnivore studies. We've done the disease transmission movement of Alberta bighorns. We've done a wolverine study here, working with the University of Alberta on, how many wolverines we had. Surprisingly, we've got a lot more. I think we surprised the biologists that we have a lot more here in Alberta than they first anticipated. The grizzly bear monitoring, the studies around that, the eastern slopes, the predation on our ungulates along the eastern slopes. And as you said, we're not just, conserving it here in Alberta. We do spend some money. We've done this stone sheep migration in, British Columbia. We also done coastal wolves and the, genetic and distribution effects on how they work. And then we do participate in food programs here in Alberta. So, Hunters for the Hungry, but one in specific in that Trochu area, a local outfitter, Glenn Brown with Blue Barona, initiated this. And so we help fund the processing of all the wild game that his outfitting business takes that the hunters can't always take back with them. He processes that meat and gives it to the food bank and to local residents inside that community. And we've been recognized even in their local community letters about, how much that means. I mean, you get a lot of people that, reach out to that program, and we're very fortunate. One of the other things we do is we also support our members on the Blue Bag program. For those that don't know, that when people do go on these safaris to third world countries, it's leaving a little piece of something when you're out there. I personally, and a group that I went on, there was 8 of us, we worked with a local school in Edmonton, St. Edmunds Elementary Junior High School. And so what they did is they had a mission every year to work with somebody that enables, a mission to participate in. So we approached them, and the students brought in soccer balls, deflated soccer balls, and clothing and toothpaste and hand soap and
school supplies,
all
everything.
The school supplies, and medical supplies and Band-Aids. And what we did was we took over 600 pounds in 8 duffel bags over to Africa, and we distributed it, and we videotaped it, and then we brought it back and had it professionally done. And the school actually pulled their 900 students together in a gymnasium and watched this video and it was really interesting because the feedback from the teachers was, that these students were sitting there, I donated that ball and I donated that basketball and there's my, jacket. And, it was interesting. Even the old jerseys that they had, they donated some of their old school jerseys and the kids loved it over there.
Yeah, and that's the Blue Bag program. So what the SCI has done is created a bunch of blue duffel bags that are labeled for the Blue Bag program. And anyone going to a third world country can ask a local club for some bags. You fill it with supplies, school supplies, medical supplies, personal hygiene, clothing, kids' toys. You go to these third world countries, they don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's quite noticeable. You take it with you. You've even worked with the airlines so that they don't charge you for the blue bags, most of them.
Correct.
And if they do, the club picks up the tab because it's that important. So the Blue Bag program is very unique in terms of sharing some of our wealth in our lives with people that just don't have the opportunity to have those things.
Yeah. And, one of the other things, Brad, you talked about, what we do. We get these donations from around the world, and these outfitters are very gracious in their donation. They're typically 100% donations. So the funds that we raise at our dinners go back into local Alberta programs. But we had an outfitter in New Zealand, Carla, that she, had a close friend with breast cancer. So she wanted to raise some money towards breast cancer and awareness for breast cancer. And we thought it was great to get behind it because, it's something that affects everybody very close to home and personally. So she donated a 2-person tar hunt in New Zealand, and we auctioned it off at our dinner, and it raised significant funds. And all those funds went directly towards breast cancer research. So we're pretty proud about, some of those things. One of the other things we do, it's taken a step back at SCI, but the ALLS program, which is literally, they used to have a school in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where, we sent down teachers here from Alberta, and they would be, and we weren't looking for people that were, hunters or fishermen or things like that. We were just looking people that wanted to take up this program and maybe wanted to introduce it into their classroom and have a little bit better understanding of it. And we would fund it to go down there for a week, and it was fabulous. We had a teacher from Warrenville that participated and came back and actually did a presentation to the board after how the connections they made with, a lot of other teachers across North America, and they actually tracked the migration of the geese and ducks. And so this teacher in Morinville would take the students out every day, and they would count how many geese and how many ducks and the types of birds that they were seeing, and they introduced that education into their classroom, and then they would communicate with some of the other teachers as the migration went further south, and so they could kind of track the migration. So that was pretty exciting.
No doubt. It sounds like the club has many, many different irons in the fire. You guys have a significant amount of outreach. And I hope that the next time people hear Safari Club International, Northern Alberta Chapter, or just Safari Club International, SCI in general, it conjures up a whole new image about the organization, the local chapters, and what they actually do and accomplish.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we're just the local members or just local people that are in the community that just want to get involved and do a little bit more. And this perception of elitists or, wealthy people that just want to go on African safaris is anything but the truth. It's really a group of people that just want to do and give back a little bit more to our to Alberta and to the hunting and fishing community, and give opportunities to the residents and give opportunities to the children and new Canadians, and let these people get out and enjoy what we've been raised with and enjoy, and just really keep doing that.
It's a big piece of the puzzle. We have wonderful education programs here in Alberta through AHIA and other organizations. That one missing link, though, for a big part of our community is being able to afford to go. So, having an organization out there that will help them, or even extend that educational reach to teachers that want to take special programming that ties back to the outdoors and conservation, I think that's special. So, if there's somebody out there that's really keen on finding out more about the organization, the programs, where you've spent your money, how to apply for grants, you do have a complete website?
Yes, we do. So On the website are the grant applications, also our contact information. If anybody wants to reach out and get in contact with myself or anyone of the board, they certainly can. We can help them apply for any grant funding, and we welcome any of the Albertans, even if it's southern. We don't cross boundaries. It's not like the chapters are territorial. If there's a opportunity to fund a project in southern Alberta, maybe what we'll do is we'll jointly work with another chapter to help support it. But our goal is really to support local Alberta resident programs, and that's what we want to do. We want to spend the money every year that we raise at the fundraiser and our Hunted Heritage Grant. So if people want to get involved and understand where the money goes, they're more than welcome to sit on that panel and that committee and decide where those dollars get spent.
Yeah. So you can search Safari Club International Northern Alberta chapter. It'll come up. You make a good point about the other chapters in Alberta. You're not territorial. You work together with common goals, but it's nice to have other chapters so that people within those communities can socialize and work on programs at home.
Correct.
Yeah. So where you can work together, you do, and I think you've proven that over the years. I mean, Archie out of Calgary helped get the Northern Alberta chapter going and is a prime example of somebody that's had extreme outreach over the years.
Absolutely. I mean, the chapters work together. We even work together on, the government, working with government. This year, the Minister Todd Loewen has been gracious enough to donate a youth tag to be auctioned off at our auction this year that would allow a youth to hunt a minister's tag for 4 different types of species of choice. So it could be that youth could hunt for a mule deer, an elk, a moose, or a pronghorn. It's a great opportunity for a young youth to do, and we're very fortunate that Minister Todd Loewen has been gracious enough to give us that, and it's very attractive to a lot of Alberta residents. But those funds go right back into youth programs in our chapter. So, we're very fortunate to have a very good relationship with the government. I personally sat on a number of panels and advisory panels here in Alberta that, support resident hunting and, help the allocations and talk the biological piece and what we need to do here with the challenges with CWD and other challenges that Alberta residents face with land and et cetera. So,
yep. Well, I strongly recommend, if you're interested in conservation and the outdoors, make sure you look up Safari Club International. They do a lot in Alberta. Thanks for all you do, Tim. Thanks for coming out and sharing your message. I think it's important to clarify these things and make sure that people understand who you are, what you are, and how it can help anyone.
Yeah, I appreciate today, Brad. I mean, it really is important to spread the word and the misconception about Safari Club and Northern Alberta chapter, and really just understand that we're just a resident hunter, that a bunch of guys got together and wanted to create a chapter and do a little bit more for Alberta and really for the hunting community, and just to be, the awareness out there.
Excellent messaging. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Brad.
We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.